Brave or stupid, I'm still not quite sure. But what I do know is today definitely feels like D-Day for me. I keep telling myself there's a better than average chance that I'll get out of here alive. As long as Sam Newman's not in the room. So where do we start with this journey? It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. We're going to have to move through it pretty quickly because I've got lots to get through, but I really hope that you like this. I was asked this morning if I have cracked the Holy Grail. Well, I don't think I've cracked the Holy Grail, but I think I've made some progress, let's say, in terms of moving forward on this vexing question. So, how do I intend to do this thing? Well, let me just paint a little bit of a picture to you. First, we'll start with the proposition. That was my brilliant idea, or my moment of complete stupidity. The archaeological dig, which is my favourite term for qual, which is where we're going to try and find out what are all the things that women are attracted to or turned off by. And then, of course, the head count, the quant, and that's my area. And finally, I'm going to fire up what I call the polygraph, and that's probably going to be the most interesting part of my presentation today. So let's start with the brilliant idea. It's often argued that we cannot always introspect and articulate what motivates us and to think and behave in certain ways. I think that's fairly well documented in psychology and other areas. So it followed, therefore, that we may not be able to accurately articulate what it is that attracts us or turns us off in a potential life partner. So again, I thought, well, I will explore this notion amongst women by using a really simple technique comparing a stated versus a derived attractive measure, which is something that I'm sure you've all used in your practical research lives. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at discrepancies in what women say they want or don't want and what they are actually attracted to or turned off by. Now, I do need to just cover off this one simple point, probably early on is better. When I started the study, I wanted to include everybody, so I wanted to be completely inclusive. So I wasn't limiting it to opposite sex or same sex. But when I got to the second stage, it became fairly obvious because of real estate on questionnaires and whatnot that I needed to really concentrate on one area. So I've concentrated on opposite sex attraction. So apologies if I've left anyone out. I hope to do another study on that area, as long as I don't get kicked off today. So let's look at a quick graphic of what I intend to do. Create a set of attributes that describe what's a turn on and what's a turn off. Ask women to rate these on a 10-point scale. 1 is a turn off, 10 is a turn off. And then create this derived measure for the same attributes and link this to unattractiveness and attractiveness. Compare the two to better understand what women really want or don't want. Pretty simple. I'm sure you all get the stated importance measure. That's a fairly standard thing. And hopefully you'll also understand my derived measure. Again, I think this is something that is used often in market research. Basically, I'm just substituting celebrities, high-profile males for brands using an association exercise. So basically, let's just take all the attractiveness scores for all the gentlemen that women thought were good-looking. In this case, a 9, 8 and a 6. Add those up and then get an average, so 7.6. Repeat this for all the attributes and basically we have a derived measure of attractiveness. Let's take a step back from that, back to the very beginning, the archaeological dig. Our friends at USE, the advocacy panel, kindly donated some sample to us, which was fantastic. And we asked 2,850 women nationally of all ages and of all different types of marital status, etc. 4 simple questions. And these were open-ended questions. What's most important in a partner? What fits the bill? Who fits the bill in the public eye? What's a real turn-off in a partner? And who fits this bill in the public eye? Love cloud tags. So looking at the most mentioned attractors, usual candidates: humour, honesty, intelligence, personality. And the candidates here tended to be more in the arts, in particular actors, and in particular Hugh Jackman, who just seems to be in a stratosphere of his own, but followed by, the Depps, the Clooneys, and some others as well. On the flip side, what are the most mentioned turn-offs? And of course, rudeness, arrogance, selfishness, dishonesty came up. And who fits that bill? Well, we start to move now into the sporting arena, and in particular, football. And you can see some, we see the serial cheaters, Warney and Woods, and of course, the shower snapper, Favola, who's now taking it to even new heights. So my next step was then to get our qual director to sift through a sample of all 2,500 responses. She went through 1,000 and came up with 30 attractor statements. I don't know what it is about always coming up with 30, but that seems to be the standard thing that qualies come up with. I can live with that. So we've seen some of the attractor statements there. 60 attributes in all, which you can imagine is quite unwieldy, but hopefully covers the whole gamut of all things. And there's certainly some very interesting ones in there as I hear you laughing away. Okay, then what I had to do is I had to find some celebrities to get my derived measure, to get an attractive measure, and of course I couldn't choose 500 of them, and in fact there was 500 of them that were mentioned by women, so that's encouraging for us guys. But I had to pick 24 of them. So these were hand-picked, half from the good list, half from the bad list, and basically I tried to make a good selection of actors, sportsmen, celebrities, politicians, etc. And the list is... Hopefully you can see at least one male there, if you're that way inclined, that is appealing, and one male who is not. You can clap, boo, hiss, whatever you like. Okay, so let's move into part two, the head count. Because you're all researchers, I suppose I should just paint a quick methodology picture. Again, we went back to our friends at the Youth to Advocacy panel, and they donated another 2,500 women for the study. We weighted the data to ABS census data by age and area to make it more representative. And we had to split the sample into two. As you can imagine, with 60 attributes and 24 celebrities, that just wasn't going to work. So they all did 30 each and 12 of the public eye partner candidates. And this time we asked three simple questions. Is this well-known person appealing to you or not? How appealing or a turn-off are each of these attributes? And then we did an imagery association exercise. Which of these attributes apply to these well-known people? Now, it's not central to my study, but it certainly created a lot of media attention, particularly the week before the election when I released the data on Tony Abbott, who got a shaggability score of 2 out of 10. And the main reason there was over 50% of women said he would break promises, and I don't know whether you can stretch that as far to what sort of Prime Minister he would make, but that's all history. So who are the most appealing males to Australian women? And there's our top 12 or so. So Hugh Jackman, really in a league of his own, score 8 out of 10. He does tick some amazing boxes. 60% of women said that, you know, he would actually enjoy being with me too. Interesting. 66%, and that's key, and 66% giving him an 8 out of 10. Amazing. Then Johnny Depp, Clooney, Federer. I got into a bit of criticism about that's a really nice picture of Federer. Anyway. And then on the flip side, and these are bottom three scores again out of 10, and we see Sam Newman at the very bottom, so I'm going to watch my back for the rest of my stay in Melbourne. The serial cheaters, Woods and Warney, Kyle, and of course the shower snapper, Brendan Favola. Some interesting names there. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the interesting part of this presentation, which is what women say they want and do not want. Let's start with the stated, and there's not going to be any surprises here. What do women say they want? A score out of 10. Well, yes, they want honesty and trust. Yes, they want love and respect. They want togetherness. Good sense of humour, kind, caring, respectful, be my best friend, be clean, be optimistic and happy, and get on with my family and friends. Sound familiar? In your packs you can see all 30 there. The interesting thing here is down the bottom of the scale is good looks and financial assets. Not as important. Are they telling the truth? What women say they don't want, and surely they could get this right. Has anyone got tomatoes? Number one was dishonest, unfaithful, untrustworthy. Angry or violent, I think that's fair enough. Chauvinists, poor hygiene, especially teeth. Inconsiderate or rude, lazy, unambitious, no purpose in life. Addictions, uncouth or obnoxious behaviour. Arrogance, he thinks he's better than everyone else. Or narrow-minded and intolerant. These were the top 10 that women said they didn't want. And again, you can see that in your packs. But then I thought, well, I'll fire up the polygraph and see whether they're actually telling the truth or not. So how does this little exercise work? Well, I took the 30 stator, attractor and turn-off attributes, I standardised them, expressed them in standard deviation units, did the same thing for the derived attractor statements. I had to stitch the two samples together, a little bit of needlework. And then basically I plotted them on two axes, where 0 was the mean score. And from that we got, yeah, look, they did fall into two quadrants. If you were looking at this in a traditional 4-quadrant analysis, which was a little disappointing. And then I just, tortured the statistics a bit and drew a line straight down the middle. And I said, well, anything that falls close on that line on both of those dimensions is an area of alignment. Then we have understated attractor attributes, understated turn-off attributes, overstated attractor attributes, and then overstated turn-off attributes. Of course, this all looks a lot sexier when you put it onto a spider chart, and basically what we've got here is we've got them in the order plotted by derived in order of magnitude on stated. So now you can see from this one there are immediately some very big gaps. They're not telling the truth. But let's start with those areas where they are aligned. And these I think we can call core attractors. Love and respect, yep, tick. They line up on both. Honest and trust, good sense of humour, kind and caring to others, good relations with my family and friends. Boys, you've got to deliver on those. On the flip side, core detractors, miserly, so get your wallets out, inconsiderate and rude, breaks promises, doesn't get on with my family and friends, and not being family oriented. Probably deal breakers. Let's go back to the attractors and let's have a look at some of those spikes. And there's some pretty big ones there. What's that really big one over there? Number 1. What is that? I'm attracted to him sexually. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. It's massive. Number 2 is good looking. Number 3 shares similar and interests. So compatibility is now coming into it. Shares similar beliefs and values. Again, compatibility, is strong and masculine, and the full statement here is strong and masculine and makes me feel like a woman. So these are areas of what I would call traditionally, in traditional consumer research, are kind of opportunities to delight. Sexually attracted, is that 5 minutes? Good looking, share similar interests, at least pretend. Beliefs and values, pretend. Strong and masculine, get to the gym. Be my best friend, loving and romantic. Togetherness, pretend. Charisma, and wants family and relates to kids. That's a tough one. There's also some other areas happening here which are of interest as well. One of them is the areas of compromise, and these are areas where it's actually less important that women say. So they might be willing to compromise on these attributes. Hey, I didn't shower today, baby. But I'm good looking. Steady, well-paid job. Do you know someone who is going out with a guy like this? Comfortable in his own skin. Well-educated, hard-working and having goals in life. You can compromise on that stuff. Don't have to have money. Don't have to be responsible. Don't have to be intelligent. Don't have to be optimistic and happy. Don't necessarily have to be respectful and have good manners. Okay, we're probably taking it a little bit too far there, but you can avoid to slip, I would suggest, on some of those attributes. Let's move to the detractors. Some interesting stuff going on there as well. As you can see, we've got some spikes in both directions there. And basically, they fall out into two categories. And I've grouped these loosely as areas of toleration, and these are probably, women may tolerate these attributes more than they say, and then areas of disgust, because these are actually even more of a turn-off than women are willing to tell you. So what are these? Sex-seeking, hard-working, workaholic, controlling and possessive, having addictions, being self-centred, areas of toleration. But be wary of these ones, guys. Having different values to me, having a physical characteristic that I don't like, which I call the wart on the nose syndrome, poor social or conversational skills, no sense of humour, not looking after yourself physically are all things that are even more a turn-off than women will tell you. So can I bring this all together? Can I create a helicopter view? Can I create a little handy card that us men can put in the back pocket? I hope so. Basically, we can draw these into three levels of a mindset. We've got the core, which is the areas of alignment, in this case on the attractors. You look at those top 5 and you think, yeah, they're all about loving and caring. Love and respect, honesty and trust, caring, good relationships, and a sense of humour. Then we have the kind of middle area, which is an area of compromise. And again, they all seem to be about status. Good job, confident, hardworking, well-educated. And then, of course, we've got that outer area, which is the areas that women won't necessarily tell you, which are the areas of delight. So sexual attraction, good looks, masculinity and strong, makes me feel like a woman, and shared interests and beliefs. On the other side, at the core of what women don't want, in consideration, I would suggest, being miserly, being rude, breaking promises, not getting on with her family and friends. Then we've got those areas of toleration, which seem to be around self-centeredness, controlling and possessive behaviour, addictive behaviour, sex-seeking behaviour, perhaps tolerated more than we think. And then finally, I've called these other areas areas of disgust. Seem to be things around conditions, so having a physical detractor, poor social skills, no sense of humour, or being in poor physical condition, but also different values. So I hope you've enjoyed my short rollercoaster journey through what women want from men, but won't necessarily tell you. In summing up, I think at the core of what women really do want and are attracted to are the loving, trusting, caring aspects of a person, preferably packaged with a big dose of humour. Although women want their partners to be confident and have some status, such as a good job, a good education, a good work ethic, they may be willing to compromise on these aspects if other attractors are met. Central to the study, though, is despite what women say, you cannot underestimate the power of the physical attraction, including sexual attraction, good looks, and even masculinity. Also, compatibility in terms of values and interests are also more important than what women explicitly say they are. On the flip side, the study suggests that at the core, what women really don't want and are really turned off by are those attributes that could loosely be termed inconsiderate, including being miserly, rude, breaking promises, and generally not getting on with their family and friends. Although women would prefer their men not to be self-centred, displaying obsessive, controlling, or addictive or sex-seeking behaviours, there's evidence that these things may be more tolerated than women suggest. Again, presuming other attractors are present. Alarming for us potential partners is that women tend to understate the turn-off power of aspects like poor physical condition or specific physical detractors. Having no sense of humour also could lead you down this path. So much more can be done with this data set. I've really only scratched the surface. I haven't even cut the data by young women versus older women, partnered women versus unpartnered. So there's plenty more I can do, and I intend to do it. One thing upon reflection is I may have polarised the statements too much, so if I was going to do this again, I would probably try to find some of those middle ground areas as well. And next year, if you have me back, I would like to present on what men really want, but won't necessarily tell you, although I suspect it'll have sex in every box.